good morning. So, yesterday night, I decided that I wanted to make a video about Peter Thiel, and he runs Palantir, and he's very influential right now in online culture, kind of behind the scenes, but there nonetheless. And I've been seeing a lot of videos about him already, but here's the thing is that a lot of the videos about him, and a lot of other people, but specifically him right now, they're very much just showing who he's connected to, who Peter Thiel is connected to. Certain Joe Rogan guests, a lot of celebrities, a lot of politicians, okay? J.D. Vance, Joe Rogan, Brian Callen, Jesse Michaels, Ayn Rand, Eric Weinstein, a lot of people. They show all of these connections, which is great and informative, but they don't really go into what he actually believes. And if they do, it's mainly based off of surveillance. So I wanted to break down some of his influences and learn what they believe, try and dissect that, and really understand ultimately what this person's goal is and the people that he associates himself with. So the first thing we're going to start with is mimetic desire, which is a term, I don't know if it's invented, but it's definitely coined by Rene Girard. We're going to start with a quote by Rene. Man is the creature who does not know what to desire, and he turns to others in order to make up his mind. We desire what others desire because we imitate their desires. Rene Girard. Okay. I like saying his name. Rene Girard. It's nice. He's born in 1923, died in 2015. They were a French historian, literary critic, and a philosopher of social science, best known for developing the theory of mimetic desire, the idea that human desire is the idea that human desire is imitative and often leads to rivalry and conflict. His work explored how this dynamic underpins myth, literature, religion, and violence, influencing fields from anthropology to theology. Girard taught at several universities, including Stanford, and was elected to the prestigious Académie Française in 2005. I said that wrong. I don't care. Okay? So, essentially, mimetic desire means we don't usually want things on our own. We want them because someone else wants them first. Desire spreads imitation. Yeah, so birthday parties. I remember when I was a kid, certain parents would bring their kids, they would give their kids presents as well after the birthday party in order to not make them as jealous, which I always thought was interesting. And I'll be honest, when I was a little kid, I would get jealous at this specific kid, my friend Will. He would get really cool stuff for his birthday, and I remember my mom and dad once got me this toy truck, and he got a toy truck that was much faster, okay? And they're the little ones that you sit in. And my parents, bless their hearts, they took me to Toys R Us to return it to try and get another one. But I think what ended up happening is that they just ended up returning it and didn't get another one. But that's how much they cared. They cared for my mimetic desire. They knew that I felt like I wanted to fit in. And in school, when you're growing up, certain shoe brands, certain clothing brands that people want to wear. I remember when I was in school, Abercrombie and Fitch was like this sign of being cool. And I always thought it was whack. And then at a certain age, I think when I was a junior, I started wearing some for like a couple months to try and fit in. Didn't work out. I don't think the shades of the clothes meshed well with the shade of my skin. It wasn't the intended purpose, the intended demographic. No, it wasn't my vibe. I felt like a fraud. When in reality, that was just mental. None of these clothes or any of these things matter anyways. But when it came to how you perceive those people based off of that brand, I didn't fit that at all. Another example would be, this is just a stereotypy trope thing, but there's this thing that women will say, oh, or guys will say this about women. It doesn't matter where it comes from. It's just a common thing that people will say. Like, women don't dress to impress men, they dress to impress other women. This is a similar subject or similar end point of this mimetic desire concept. Here's another example that I actually had written out, and I'll show you this. I'll show you the notes that I'm working off of that I've created. Okay, let's do that. Where is it? Here we go. Okay, I'm making sure that the audio is still recording. An example we have is, if your friend suddenly really wants a certain jacket, you might find yourself wanting it too, not because you needed it, but because their desire made it desirable. All right. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but like I said, I definitely experienced this with the Abercrombie stuff. I experienced this in music. I'll see bands work with certain artists, and I'll get very, very envious of that collaborative effort and want to inject myself in there some way. Is something that I used to really have a problem with, just wanting to inject myself in situations because I wanted to be a part of the community. Now I realize I kind of have to create my own community because I don't quite fit into all of these things. But I guess I probably do to some of you, and that's fine. Put me in a box! I have worms in my brain. I apologize. Okay. Key point. It's not about object itself, but the rivalry and tension that comes from wanting what somebody else wants. So, let's get into the definition of both of these words. Mimetic. Okay, mimetic. It's an adjective, formal, technical, relating to constituting or habitually practicing mimetic patterns in butterflies. Okay, so mimetic is just imitation, essentially. Almost an ingrained imitation. Desire is pretty self-evident. A strong feeling of wanting to have something or wishing for something to happen. A desire to work in the dirt with your bare hands. Kind of this instinctive thing, right? By understanding these concepts at a definitional level, we can take back the power these common habits have over us and redefine what fuels our desires and needs, further strengthening our ability to discern between the two. Am I doing this for myself or for the validation of somebody else? This gets into impulse versus instinct and how we discern between those two. You have to figure out what's controlling you in order to control that yourself. It's going to exist, this desire. So, reformat it. Figure out who's capturing your attention and what are the fruits of their ideologies. And if those fruits don't align with what your diet requires internally, then that's not for you. That substance isn't for you. So you have to figure out who's producing the fruit, what tree is producing the fruit that you desire, and model your model after that. Because at the end of the day, the models will exist whether or not the imitation happens, right? So you have to choose who you're going to be imitating, who you're going to be modeling your desires after in accordance to what goal you want. Your object of desire. So this diagram lays it out a little bit better. You have the object of desire at top, you have the two mirroring desires on the side, and then at the bottom corners of the triangle, you've got both of the models that are actually just mirroring each other, leading to the same object of desire. Now, why am I talking about this? Basically, what I believe, or what I'm learning, I guess you could say, is that Peter Thiel has an intense obsession with René Girard. Just kidding. René Girard is an influence of theirs. And knowing this, we can understand that what would you do if you had this knowledge of this mimetic mechanism and you had this power? You would understand this and figure out a way to psyop it, essentially. If you're controlling both of the model's desires, then you're controlling what they're mirroring. Peter Thiel is creating the object of desire and infiltrating the rivalry. Okay? And by doing this, he leads them to the same pit. Okay? It's basically figuring out a way to lead everybody to the same goal, regardless of them thinking that they're at odds with each other. Does that make sense? That's what I believe. I believe that this division is actually an attempt at bringing people together for a possible outcome that involves only one person making the decisions, which is what we'll get into tomorrow probably. Leo Strauss has this concept of esoteric knowledge laced within spiritual and religious text, and this esoteric knowledge is knowledge that is not meant for the common man, but for the elites to better guide society as a whole with this knowledge that they're imbued with. That's the rough understanding I have for it at this point in time. So, knowing all of this, knowing that this could possibly be used as a tool to circumnavigate the objects of desire happening naturally based off of the mimetic mechanisms that infiltrate individuals, okay? Knowing this, and then knowing that these desires in themselves can control us, and the only way we can get out of that is understanding this concept and choosing our own objects of desires that aren't based off of what other people want, but based off of what we want and the fruits of what we see that thing produce that we want. We have all of this information. We figure out how to subvert it ourselves and use it to our benefit. And then we can figure out how other people are using it to control us so that we don't have to be controlled anymore. We need to break the chains off of ourselves, you see? We need to take the veil away, okay? I am back on my medication, but at the frequency that I take it, I have these bursts of energy and I wouldn't say useless, but dumps of information that I have to siphon through and compartmentalize in order to actually cohesively be able to articulate it to the masses. And by the masses, I mean the 27 subscribers that I have on YouTube and the random people that come in here from the other YouTuber that I work for. Okay? Whew. All right, well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my talk on mimetic desire. And I will see you tomorrow. I'm going to think about this today and decide whether or not I should keep smoking cigarettes. Just kidding. I'm going to smoke until I die. Goodbye.